What's up everybody, and welcome back to another episode of BH Brewing. This week we are finally tasting our chocolate vanilla coffee porter. I know it's taken a while, but yeah, you know why. We had that issue with the CO2 leak. If you've not seen that video, make sure you click on the channel and have a watch of that one. I think the title is something along the lines of fixing a CO2 leak. Then you would kind of discover why this video is taking so long to do. Anyway, nevertheless, let's crack on and taste this beer. So here we have it. This is the chocolate vanilla coffee porter. Quite the mouthful, but hopefully a nice tasting beer. As you can see, the head retention on this is pretty decent. Not bad for a homebrew, I will say. The head seems to stay on there. It's quite thick, almost kind of Guinness-like in its consistency, but obviously more of a kind of a caramel colour and almost like a Caramac in a way. That type of colour rather than that kind of Guinness, which is more of a white colour. In terms of the actual colour of the beer itself, well, that's about as black as you're going to get. It's, yeah, that's dark, that's for sure. But you would kind of expect that with the malts we were using, and obviously the additions of the coffee and the cocoa in it. Let's go in with the aroma and see what we can get from that. The aroma is very much coffee. That is the kind of main kind of thing you get from it, like a dark roasted coffee, like, you know, hints of kind of bitterness in there. You also get that kind of chocolate, but it's more of on the backbone of it. It's not necessarily there in full force. The coffee is the kind of overriding aroma, then the chocolate just kind of sits there in the background and you can just about hint it out, and it does make a kind of a nice combination. It's not like your traditional mocha. If you were to make yourself a mocha or have a mocha from a coffee shop, that's usually more chocolate forward. This is definitely more coffee forward in terms of its aroma. Disappointingly, there is no real kind of smell of the vanilla on there, which is a little disappointing. This is obviously a chocolate, you know, coffee vanilla porter. It's meant to have all three, but maybe we'll get that in the taste. Let's find out. Okay, in terms of its flavour, certainly coffee comes through, big hit of coffee. Not as strong as, say, an espresso, but kind of close in terms of its strongness of it. But it is not as bitter as, say, an espresso would be. And I'm guessing that's because of the lactose sugar we added to it. That kind of just mellows it out a little, makes it, you know, not as bitter as it should be, as it normally would be, should I say. Yeah, coffee is kind of the overriding flavour, a bit like the aroma really. This doesn't differ much from that. The chocolate kind of comes in the background, but it's not an overly sweet chocolate. It's more like I would say like a dark chocolate flavour to it. I think if you're looking for more of a, you know, like a sweet milk chocolate, then you probably add a lot more lactose sugar. But that is, if you like your dark chocolate and you like your coffee, this kind of hits it straight away in terms of flavour. I don't really notice the vanilla, if I'm being honest. I'm just going to take another swig to make sure I'm not missing it. I've only had a couple, so let's give it another swig. Yeah, disappointingly, that vanilla, I've got to be honest, I can barely taste it. In fact, I'm struggling to taste it at all. Now that's disappointing considering how much, you know, that bottle cost us of vanilla. If you've watched the first video, you'll know it wasn't cheap. If you've not watched the first video, then please go back and watch this. Why are you watching this video before watching the first one? I don't know why. Yeah, that vanilla is not really there, which is, it's just bitterly disappointing. I didn't put the whole bottle in. Maybe I needed to put the whole bottle in. I'm not overly sure, but it doesn't come through as what I'd hoped for the cost of that vanilla extract. So that is a little disappointing. In terms of its mouthfeel, it is very full. Is it as thick as a Guinness? Yeah, I'd probably say so. It's got that thick kind of velvety mouthfeel. It tastes lovely. It's a little dry on the end, but it still kind of has that really nice full mouthfeel, which is really nice. The bitterness of it, it's slightly bitter. I can imagine if you drank a whole pint of this, you know, you start to feel the bitterness more towards the end of the beer. So the bitterness is there, but it's not overriding. Like I said earlier, it's not like when you have an espresso and you have a sip of espresso. It's, whoa, like you need a drink of water after having an espresso because it's that bitterness stays on your tongue. The bitterness is there, but it's not overpowering. It's just about right. It's subtle because of the lactose we have in there. Yeah, it's a very nice beer. I mean, I've brewed this type of beer before. This is kind of the second kind of chocolate coffee one I've brewed. I've got to say, I probably prefer the first one, and I think I prefer the first one because the coffee wasn't as overriding that. It was more of a nice balance between the chocolate and the coffee. So if I was to brew this again, I'd probably step back in terms of the amount of coffee I put in it. And maybe even if you wanted a more chocolatey, I'd probably up the chocolate. So kind of put parts wise, I'd probably put more the chocolate where the coffee is now, and then the coffee where the chocolate is in terms of, you know, its distribution into the brew kettle. Vanilla, like I say, if I was to brew it again, I'd probably chuck the whole bottle in there. I almost be tempted to chuck a bottle and a half, maybe 2 bottles. The problem is it starts becoming an expensive beer then. That vanilla extract is not cheap. If you want to bung 2 bottles in it, you're talking nearly 40 quid just in vanilla extract. That's a lot. That's what it usually costs me to brew one whole beer, you know, like a light, not a light beer, but an IPA. It cost me 40 quid max. So to spend that much in extract really is, for me, is a bit much. But yeah, overall, this is probably, you know, not my favourite beer I've ever brewed, but it's up there in terms of its quality. It's for an extract brew. This is very nice. I thoroughly do enjoy this. If you want the recipe, contact me directly. I'll be happy to give you the recipe. You can try it out for yourself. Extract brewers only, and yeah, give it a go. But otherwise, that is the video for this week, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I'm going to slouch on the sofa and enjoy the rest of this. Cheers, guys. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to hit the like button down there. And if you want to see more content like this, me tasting beers, me brewing beers, don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well. Cheers.